polished silver corridors of the Galactic Union Military Academy hummed with activity, their curved walls reflecting the shifting colors of alien cadets moving between classes. On the orbital station, Zenith Prime, where the galaxy's finest warriors trained, Lieutenant Marcus Cole walked alone. His gray fatigue stood out like a smudge among the vibrant exoskeletons and bioluminescent markings of his classmates. A group of Vorak cadets lumbered past, their chitinous armor clicking with each heavy step. The largest, a 7-foot-tall brute named Krax, bumped Marcus hard enough to send him stumbling. "Watch your step, Softskin," Krax rumbled. His compound eyes glinting with amusement, his squadmates emitted deep, guttural chuckles as they continued down the hall. Marcus adjusted his collar and kept walking. 3 months at the academy had taught him to let the jabs slide. The Vorak weren't the worst of it. Ahead, a cluster of Zephyrians stood in perfect formation, their lithe bodies covered in shifting blue patterns. Their leader, Vexis, flicked a slender limb in Marcus's direction as he passed. "Still carrying that primitive slug-thrower human?" she asked, her voice like liquid mercury. Marcus patted the rifle at his side. "Works just fine." Vexis's markings pulsed violet, the Zephyrian equivalent of a sneer. How quaint. The Union phased out chemical propellants 3 cycles ago. Before Marcus could respond, the Academy's intercom chimed. "All senior cadets to Tactical Simulation Bay 4, announced a smooth synthetic voice. "Debriefing for war, Game Sigma in 10 minutes. The bay was already half full when Marcus arrived. Commander Krell, a Vorak instructor with scarred mandibles, stood at the central hollow display. His forearms were crossed as he surveyed the arriving cadets. "Sit," he barked. The room fell silent. Holograms flickered to life, replaying yesterday's war, game, a simulated planetary assault. The alien teams had moved in perfect unison, their energy shields overlapping as they advanced. The human squad, led by Marcus, had been placed on the defending side. Krell's claw tapped the display, freezing the image as Marcus's team broke formation. "This," the commander said, "is why human tactics are unreliable. No discipline, no cohesion." The hologram zoomed in on Corporal Diaz tossing a grenade backward while retreating, a move that had taken out 2 Vorak pursuers. Marcus cleared his throat. "With respect, Commander, it worked." Krell's antennae twitched. "Luck. The Union does not reward luck, Lieutenant Cole. We reward precision." He switched the display to show the Zephyrian team's flawless flanking maneuver. "This is how a civilized species wages war." Vexis leaned forward, her markings shimmering with pride. "Your species still relies on chaos. And what was it?" "Ah yes, improvisation." She said the word like it was a disease. Marcus clenched his jaw. "Improvisation wins battles when the plan falls apart." Krell snorted. "Plans fall apart when species lack discipline." He waved a dismissive claw. "Humans have potential, but until you abandon these primitive methods, you will never match Union standards." A murmur of agreement rippled through the alien cadets. Krax grinned, his mandibles spreading wide. Maybe the humans should stick to logistics, less chance of getting themselves killed. The laughter was cut short by the sudden blare of an alarm. The lights shifted to crimson as the station's AI voice announced. "Priority alert. Unidentified contacts approaching Zenith Prime. All cadets report to emergency stations." Krell's stance shifted immediately to battle readiness. "Dismissed. Move." As the cadets scrambled, Vexis shot Marcus a look. "Let's see how your improvisation handles a real threat, human." Marcus didn't answer. He was already running, his mind racing through possibilities. If this was a drill, it was a hell of a time for one. If it wasn't, then the galaxy was about to learn why humans had a reputation for surviving against impossible odds. The wargame arena hummed to life, its holographic projectors painting a ruined cityscape across the training deck. Crimson light filtered through shattered skyscrapers as atmospheric dust swirled in non-existent winds. Marcus Cole adjusted his tactical vest, feeling the weight of his ballistic rifle against his chest. Around him, the other human cadets checked their gear. Sergeant Li Wei chambered a round in her shotgun. Corporal Diaz clipped grenades to his belt, and Private Novak tightened the straps on his pack full of demolition charges. Across the arena, the alien teams assembled in perfect formation. The Vorak cadets stood like living fortresses, their chitinous armor clicking as energy shields shimmered around them. The Zephyrians moved with eerie synchronicity, their bioluminescent markings pulsing in tactical patterns. Commander Krell's voice boomed over the comms. Simulation begins in 30 seconds, standard victory conditions. Eliminate all hostile forces or capture the central command node. Vexus's mocking laughter crackled across the open channel. I give the soft-skins 5 minutes before they're all down. A chorus of alien clicks and chirps followed. Marcus ignored them. He tapped his earpiece. Human squad, listen up. They're expecting textbook maneuvers. We give them chaos instead. The countdown hit 0. Alien squads advanced in textbook wedge formations, plasma rifles sweeping the ruins. The Vorak moved like a single organism, their overlapping shields creating an impenetrable wall. The Zephyrians flitted between cover, their energy weapons leaving scorch marks on the holographic concrete. Marcus's team didn't engage. They vanished. Novak slipped through a collapsed sewer tunnel, his demolition charges already wired to the support columns of a half-destroyed office building. Diaz laid a trail of proximity mines along what the tactical manuals called low-value approach vectors. Li Wei crouched in the shadows of a burnt-out transport, her shotgun's smart scope tracking the lead Vorak's knee joints. The first plasma volley tore through empty air where the humans should have been. What the Vexus's voice cut off as Novak detonated his charges. The office building groaned, then collapsed directly onto a Zephyrian fire team. Holographic debris crushed 3 of them before their shields could adjust. Warning klaxons blared, simulated casualties. The Vorak squad pivoted, their commander barking orders. They advanced toward the collapse site, shields raised against expected follow-up fire. They stepped right into Diaz's minefield. The first explosion took out a Vorak's leg. The second shattered their formation. The third sent 2 of them crashing through a weakened floor into a simulated pit of molten steel below. This isn't warfare. Vexus's voice screeched over the comms. His remaining Zephyrians fired wildly into the ruins, their disciplined formation shattered. This is madness. Li Wei's shotgun roared from point-blank range, simulated armor. Piercing rounds punched through a Zephyrian's energy shield at its weakest frequency, something Marcus had calculated during their pre-mission scans. The alien went down hard, his bioluminescence flashing red in defeat. Marcus moved through the chaos like a ghost. He'd rigged a series of smoke grenades with remote detonators, creating shifting walls of obscuration that confused alien thermal sensors. When a Vorak fire team tried to flank through a narrow alley, he triggered a dumpster full of simulated radioactive waste to tip over, blocking their path in the observation deck. Commander Krell's mandibles twitched. The holographic display showed human icons appearing and disappearing like phantoms. The alien casualty counter climbed steadily. One of the Vorak cadets finally broke protocol, charging blindly through a smoke cloud with his plasma rifle on full auto. He nearly collided with Private Novak, who reacted on pure instinct. He swung his rifle like a club, smashing the alien's knee joint with the stock. The Vorak toppled, his armor's weak point exploited with brutal efficiency. Foul, the Vorak roared. No species fights like this. Marcus emerged from the smoke, his rifle aimed at the downed alien's helmet seam. Correction, he said, pulling the trigger. The simulation registered a kill. Humans fight like this. The arena's end of exercise tone blared. The holographic ruins dissolved, revealing the stunned faces of the surviving alien cadets. The human squad stood amidst them, weapons still raised. The scoreboard flashed final tallies: human casualties 2, alien casualties 98%. Vexus tore off his training helmet, his bioluminescence flaring violet with rage. This was supposed to be a test of military doctrine, Not whatever barbarism this was. Marcus ejected his spent magazine with a click. You wanted to see human tactics? He gestured to the scoreboard. There they are. In the observation deck, Commander Krell stared at the data feeds. His subordinate, a Cerelian tactical officer, whispered, "They used the environment as a weapon. The buildings, the debris, even the damn smoke." Krell's claws tapped against the console. "Wuss," he growled. "They used our expectations against us." Below in the arena, the human squad regrouped, already debriefing. Novak grinned as he checked his remaining explosives. "Think we made an impression?" Li Wei snorted. "Oh, they'll remember this." She glanced at the still fuming Vexis. "Question is, will they learn from it?" Marcus slung his rifle. "Either way," he said, watching the alien cadets staring at them with something between horror and newfound respect. "They won't underestimate us again." The walk back to the barracks was silent. For the first time since arriving at the academy, no one mocked their two arms, their soft skin, or their primitive ballistic weapons. The aliens just watched and wondered. The observation deck buzzed with hushed murmurs as Union officers leaned over the holographic display. The ruined cityscape flickered with red and blue markers, blue for human forces, red for the Academy's elite alien cadets. Commander Krell's chitinous fingers tightened around the railing as he watched the simulation unfold. His mandibles twitched in agitation. "This is impossible," muttered a Thalassian officer, his gill slits flaring. "The humans should have been wiped out in the first engagement." On the battlefield below, Marcus Cole's squad moved like ghosts. They didn't march in formation. They didn't hold defensive lines. They struck, vanished, and struck again. Sergeant Li Wei had rigged the sewer tunnels with motion, triggered charges. When Vex's Superior squad advanced, thinking they had the humans cornered, the entire street erupted beneath them. 3 Superiors were marked eliminated before they even registered the attack. Corporal Diaz's laughter crackled over Marcus's earpiece. "They're so predictable," she said, reloading her rifle with a sharp click. "They always take the high ground. Every damn time." Marcus didn't answer. He was too busy watching Private Novak crawl through the rubble, his hands deftly rewiring a broken power conduit. The kid was barely out of basic training, but he had an engineer's mind. When the Vorak cadets stormed the central plaza, Novak triggered his trap, a collapsing skyscraper guided down onto their position by a remote detonator. The holographic system registered the entire squad as casualties. Up in the observation deck, Krell's exoskeleton darkened with frustration. "This isn't warfare," he growled. "This is chaos." Marcus' voice cut in over the comms. He had hacked the observation feed. His face appeared on a secondary screen, smeared with dirt and grinning. "No, Commander, this is human warfare." Vex's squad had regrouped, their bioluminescent markings pulsing with rage. They moved in a tight phalanx, energy shields interlocked, plasma rifles sweeping for targets. Textbook perfect. Diaz exhaled slowly, her crosshairs settling on the lead Superior. "They never learn," she muttered. A shot rang out. The Superior's shield flared, but Diaz wasn't aiming for the shield. She was aiming for the power pack on his belt. The plasma cell detonated in a brilliant blue flash, taking out 3 more cadets in the chain reaction. Vexis snarled, his voice shrill over the open channel. "This isn't honorable. You're not even fighting face to face." Marcus ducked behind a shattered wall as return. Fire scorched the air above him. "Honor doesn't win wars," he said. "Adaptation does." Novak tossed a smoke grenade into the street. Thick grey clouds billowed outward, blinding the remaining Superiors. The humans switched to thermal scopes. The aliens didn't have them. It was over in seconds. The simulation ended with a deafening klaxon. The holograms dissolved, leaving the Academy's pristine training floor bare. The observation deck was silent. Then the whispers started. Krell turned to the Thalassian officer. "They fight like animals," he said, his voice low. The Thalassian shook his head. "No. Animals fight for survival. These humans, They fight to win. Down on the training floor, Marcus pulled off his helmet. His squad gathered around him, their faces streaked with sweat but triumphant. Vexis stormed up to them, his bioluminescent stripes flashing crimson. "You cheated," he spat. Marcus wiped his brow. "There is no cheating in war, only living and dying." Vexis' mandibles clicked furiously. "The Dominion would crush you. They don't play these games." Marcus met his gaze. "Good, neither do we." The doors to the observation deck hissed open. Commander Krell descended the steps, his heavy carapace clicking against the metal. The room fell silent. He stopped in front of Marcus. For a long moment he said nothing. Then, grudgingly, he nodded. "Interesting tactics," he admitted. "But simulations are one thing. Real combat is another." Marcus smiled. "We'll see." Outside the Academy's windows, the stars glittered cold and distant, unknowing, unprepared. Just like the galaxy, the station's artificial gravity shuddered as the first impact rocked Zenith Prime. Marcus Cole's head snapped up from the tactical display, just as the emergency lighting bathed the war. Game arena in pulsing crimson. Across the ruined city hologram, the alien cadets froze, Vorak warriors lowering their plasma rifles, Superior's bioluminescent markings flashing in alarm. "That is not part of the simulation," Sergeant Leeway said, her fingers already checking the magazine on her ballistic rifle. A deafening klaxon split the air, followed by Commander Krell's voice booming through the station. Wide comms. "All personnel to battle stations. Repeat. This is not a drill. Kryth Dominion forces have breached the perimeter." The holographic terrain flickered and died, revealing the stark metal walls of the training facility. Marcus grabbed his helmet as the floor tilted violently. Novak barely caught himself on a support beam. "Dominion, those slaver bastards haven't attacked Union space in decades." Diaz ejected the simulation rounds from his shotgun with practiced efficiency, loading live shells. "Guess they got tired of picking on unarmed colonies." Outside the observation deck's reinforced windows, space erupted in silent fire. A dozen Union battleships, sleek silver vessels with curved energy shields, formed up in textbook defensive formation. Against them came the jagged black shapes of Ravager, class dreadnoughts, their hulls studded with plasma cannons that glowed like infected wounds. "Look at that firing pattern," Lee whispered as a Dominion warship carved through a Union frigate with surgical precision. "They're targeting shield generators first, professional killers." The station shook again, harder this time. Marcus heard the distinct groan of stressed metal. "We need to get to the armory now." They sprinted through shuddering corridors, dodging panicked cadets of a dozen species. A group of Vespidian engineers scrambled past, their exoskeletons clattering against the deck plates. One turned its multifaceted eyes toward Marcus. "Sofkin should evacuate. This is warrior's work." Marcus didn't bother responding. He'd seen the tactical feeds flashing on every terminal they passed. Union ships falling back, their formations too rigid to counter the Dominion's unpredictable strikes. By the time they reached the armory, the situation had worsened. Commander Krell stood before a holotank, his chitinous armor reflecting the red alert lights. Around him, Vorak tactical officers barked orders in their clicking native tongue. The hologram showed 3 more Union ships exploding under concentrated fire. "Commander!" Marcus shouted over the din. "My squad's combat. Ready. Where do you need us?" Krell's mandibles twitched in what might have been surprise. "Cadet Cole, this is no training exercise. The Dominion has..." Another impact cut him off, sending equipment clattering to the floor. The holotank flickered, revealing a new contact emerging from slipspace at the battle's edge. Unlike the angular Dominion ships or the curved Union vessels, this one had a brutal, utilitarian design, all sharp angles and protruding gun barrels. Marcus felt his lips curl into a grin. That is the US in defiance. On the main view screen, static resolved into the face of Captain Ilara Vance. Her dark skin gleamed with sweat under the bridge's emergency lights, and her eyes burned with fierce intensity. "Zenith Prime Command, This is Captain Vance of the Earth Defense Fleet. We're detecting multiple hostiles in your vicinity, requesting permission to engage. A Zephyrian admiral spat, "Human interference is not required. The Union fleet has..." The screen showed another Union cruiser exploding. Vance didn't wait for permission. "All batteries fire at Wilhelm. Take us through their center." What followed wasn't warfare as the Galactic Union understood it. The Defiance didn't form up with the remaining Union ships. It charged straight into the Dominion formation, railgun rounds punching through enemy shields with terrifying efficiency. Where Union vessels fired in synchronized volleys, the human ship unleashed staggered barrages. Each shot timed to exploit the slight shield fluctuations caused by the previous impact. They're brawling, Krell muttered, his antennae quivering. No formation, no coordinated, adaptive fire patterns, Marcus corrected. Watch the ventral cannons. As if hearing him, the Defiance rotated violently, presenting its underside just as a Dominion destroyer moved to flank it. A dozen railgun slugs tore through the enemy's engines. Vance's voice crackled over the comms again. "Zenith Prime, we're detecting boarding pods inbound to your Sector 7. Recommend you..." The transmission cut off as a Dominion plasma beam scored a direct hit on the Defiance's bridge. The screen filled with static. Marcus was already moving. "That is our sector. Let's go." Krell grabbed his arm. "You are not authorized, Commander," Marcus said, yanking free. "With all due respect, the people who just saved your station are about to get overrun. My squad's going. Try to keep up." They ran through shuddering corridors. The station's automated defenses firing at incoming boarding pods. Through observation ports, Marcus saw the Defiant still fighting, listing badly now, but pouring fire into two Ravager-class ships that had overextended to reach it. "Humans," Novak panted as they reached Sector 7's barricades, always making an entrance. The first boarding pod exploded through the hull before he finished speaking. Molten metal sprayed across the corridor as the pod's armored shell split open. Out poured Dominion warriors, hulking brutes in spiked armor, their forearms each wielding different weapons. The lead warrior roared something in guttural Kryth, leveling a plasma caster at the nearest barricade. Marcus didn't give the order, didn't need to. His squad opened fire as one, their ballistic rounds punching through armor that had been designed to dissipate energy weapons. The Dominion warriors staggered, unprepared for projectiles that didn't give their shields time to recharge between hits. "Switch to alternating fire," Marcus barked. "Lay, left flanked. Diaz right. Novak grenades on my mark." They fought like they'd trained, not in neat lines, but in controlled chaos. When the Dominion adapted to their rifle fire, they switched to shotguns. When the enemy closed to melee range, Diaz detonated pre-placed breaching charges to collapse the ceiling on them. Through it all, Marcus kept one eye on the external feeds. The Defiance, though battered, had drawn half the Dominion fleet away from the station. Union ships were finally adjusting, adopting some of the human ship's unpredictable maneuvers. A new transmission cut through the battle noise. Vance's voice. "Rougher now, Zenith Prime. An explosion drowned out her next words. "Need immediate reinforcements in Sector 7, Dominion Warlord leading the..." The screen cleared just long enough to show a massive figure in ornate armor cutting through human marines like wheat. Gorath the Unbroken, Marcus realized, the Dominion's most feared boarding specialist, and he was heading straight for them. "All right, kids," Marcus said, ejecting his spent magazine. "Time to show these bastards why humans don't play by their rules." The station shuddered as another Kryth Dominion torpedo slammed into its shields. Marcus Cole braced himself against the bulkhead, his boots magnetized to the deck as alarms wailed through the corridors. Around him, Union soldiers, Vorak and Zephyrian mostly, scrambled in disarray, their disciplined formations crumbling under the Dominion's relentless assault. "Cole to Vance," Marcus barked into his comm. Static crackled in response. "Defiance here," Captain Alara Vance's voice cut through the noise. "We're making our approach, but the Dominion's got a kill zone set up around the station's docking ring. Their shields are shrugging off plasma fire like it is nothing. Marcus clenched his jaw. He'd seen the tactical feeds. The Union fleet was getting torn apart by hit and run strikes, their rigid doctrine leaving them vulnerable. The Kryth fought like wolves, darting in and out of slip space before the Union could retaliate. "Then we do this the human way," Marcus said. "Forget the docks. We'll take the fight to them." A Vorak lieutenant nearby snorted, his chitinous plates rattling. "You suggest boarding actions against Dominion shock troops?" Marcus grinned. "Yeah, and we're gonna use this." He tapped the shotgun mag, locked to his thigh. The USN Defiance streaked through the chaos of battle, its angular hull weaving between Dominion fire. Unlike the Union's sleek, curved warships, the human cruiser was all hard edges and brute force, its railgun batteries thundering with each salvo. Inside, Vance gripped the command chair as the ship lurched. "Helm, bring us in close. Real close. I want to scrape paint off their hull." The Defiance dove straight at a Dominion dreadnought, its engines flaring at the last second to swing alongside the enemy ship. The Kryth hadn't expected this. No sane species rammed into a superior foe. "Marines, go," Vance ordered. The boarding pods launched, slamming into the dreadnought's hull like bullets. Marcus and his team, Lee, Diaz, and Novak, burst into the enemy ship, shotguns roaring in the tight corridors. The Dominion shock troops, clad in heavy-powered armor, turned to meet them. Their plasma rifles hummed, ready to incinerate the intruders. Then the humans did something unthinkable. They threw smoke grenades. The Kryth froze. Their thermal sensors were useless in the sudden haze. "Light him up," Marcus yelled. Shotgun blasts echoed through the smoke. The Dominion's armor was tough, but at point-blank range, even their plating couldn't stop tungsten slugs. Gorath the Unbroken, warlord of the Kryth Vanguard, snarled as the alarms blared across his ship. "Who dares board my vessel?" His second in command, a scarred veteran named Vorsk, hissed. "Humans, they fight like vermin." Gorath hefted his plasma glaive. "Then I will crush them myself." He found Marcus in the ship's reactor chamber, the human standing amid the corpses of Gorath's finest warriors. The warlord's mandibles spread in a predatory grin. "Finally," Gorath rumbled, "a worthy kill." Marcus ejected a spent shotgun shell. "Let's dance." The duel was brutal. Gorath was faster, stronger, his glaive carving molten gashes in the deck. Marcus dodged, rolled, fired, but the warlord's armor shrugged off the rounds. Then Marcus did the impossible. He kicked off the wall in 0G, using the momentum to slam into Gorath. Before the warlord could react, Marcus jammed a grenade into the seam of his armor. Gorath's eyes widened. The explosion tore him apart. On the Defiance's bridge, Vance watched as the Dominion dreadnought's engines flickered and died. "Direct hit to their reactor," her tactical officer reported. "Their fleet's breaking formation." Vance smirked. "Then let's finish this." The Defiance's railguns spoke again, and this time, the Dominion had no answer. Their ships, so confident against the Union's predictable tactics, couldn't adapt to the chaos humans brought. One by one, they fled into slipspace. Back on the station, Krell stared at the tactical display, his mandibles slack. They actually won. Vexis, bleeding from a gash in her bioluminescent hide, whispered, "How?" Marcus, stepping through the ruined corridor with his team, answered without looking back. "Because we fight to win." The command center of Zenith Prime buzzed with frantic activity. Holographic displays flickered as damage reports streamed in from across the station. Admiral Vosk of the Zephyrian fleet gripped the edge of the central console, his bioluminescent markings pulsing with stress. "They're breaking through our flank. All shield generators on Deck 7 are down." Commander Krell's chitinous armor plates rattled as he turned from the tactical display. His Vorak eyes reflected the flashing red alert lights. "Where is that human ship?" he growled. "We need reinforcements now." As if summoned, the main viewport lit up with the sudden flare of railgun fire. The USN Defiant streaked past the observation windows, her hull scorched but her guns still roaring. A Dominion cruiser exploded in a silent blossom of fire as the human vessel banked sharply, avoiding debris with impossible precision. "Admiral," a comms officer called out. "Captain Vance is hailing us." Vosk jabbed a webbed finger at the console. "Put her through." The holographic image of Captain Alara Vance materialized in the center of the room. Her uniform was torn at the shoulder, a fresh burn mark across her cheek, but her grin was fierce. "Sorry, we're late to the party, had to take the scenic route." Krell's mandibles clicked in disbelief as he watched the Defiance's tactical display. The human ship was moving in erratic patterns. No Union pilot would dare attempt, her railguns picking off Dominion fighters with terrifying accuracy. "This is impossible. Their maneuvers violate every known combat doctrine." Vance's hologram winked. "That is because we wrote new ones. Defiance to all Union vessels. Form up on our vector and prepare to punch through their center. We're going to give them something to think about." The Admiral hesitated. "Captain, that is suicide. The Dominion has 3 dreadnoughts in that sector. Trust me," Vance said, her voice dropping into something colder. "They won't expect what comes next." On the station's lower decks, Marcus Cole wiped blood from his brow as another explosion rocked the corridor. His makeshift squad, a mix of human marines and alien cadets who'd joined his defense, crouched behind makeshift barricades. "Novak status on those charges." The private grinned, his fingers dancing across a jury-rigged detonator. "Ready to light 'em up, Lel T, just say the word." Sergeant Lee tapped her earpiece. "Defiance just signaled. They're making their run in 30 seconds. Marcus nodded, turning to the wide-eyed Superior cadet beside him. "Vexis, you and your team fall back to the next junction. When those charges blow, the Dominion will come running right into our crossfire." The alien's bioluminescent stripes flickered uncertainly. "This is not how we were trained to fight." "That is why it'll work," Diaz said, racking the slide on his shotgun. "Now move." The station trembled as the Defiance's opening salvo struck home. Through the shattered viewports, Marcus caught glimpses of the battle outside, the human cruiser dancing between Dominion warships like a boxer, dodging punches, her railgun batteries firing with mechanical precision. Back in the command center, Admiral Vosk watched in stunned silence as the tactical display updated. By the ancestors, they're breaking formation. Krell's armored fists clenched. The Dominion is retreating. But why? Vance's hologram reappeared, this time with visible damage to the bridge behind her. "Because we didn't fight their fleet," she said, breathing hard. "We fought their command ship. Turns out Dominion warlords don't like it when you park a nuke on their doorstep." The Admiral's frills stood straight up. You didn't. You're lax. It was just a warning shot. But Gorath got the message." Vance's grin turned feral. "Turns out even the Unbroken has a self-preservation instinct." As the Dominion ships began their disorderly retreat, Krell turned to the tactical display showing Marcus's squad still holding their position. The Vorak commander's voice was uncharacteristically quiet. "All this time, we thought your kind were weak because you lacked our technology, our discipline." Vance crossed her arms. "And now? Now, I understand why the Kryth Dominion never invaded your homeworld." Krell's mandibles clicked in what might have been respect. "They were wise enough to be afraid." The Admiral straightened his uniform, his bioluminescent markings calming to a steady glow. "Captain Vance, the Galactic Union owes your people a debt. This changes everything." Vance's expression softened slightly. "No, Admiral. It just changes your perspective." She glanced at a readout off-screen. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got a ship to patch up and a crew to check on. Defiance out." As the hologram faded, the command center fell into an awed silence on the main display. The last Dominion ships vanished into slipspace. The USN Defiance, her hull pockmarked with battle damage, turned gracefully to assume a defensive position near the station. Krell stared at the ship for a long moment before speaking to no one in particular. "We will need to revise all our training manuals. Every tactical doctrine, every combat simulation." His armored shoulders slumped slightly. Everything we thought we knew about war was wrong. A young Vorak communications officer timidly approached. "Commander, the human lieutenant is requesting permission to bring his squad back to the Academy sector. He says, and I quote, 'The show is over and we could all use a drink.'" For the first time in recorded history, the stern Vorak commander did something his species was not known for. He laughed, a deep rumbling sound that shook his armored plates. "Tell Lieutenant Cole his request is granted, and inform the mess hall to break out whatever intoxicants humans prefer. The entire station will stand down for—" "What do they call it?" The officer consulted his pad. "A victory party, sir." Krell nodded. "Indeed, let it be so." As he turned to leave, his final words carried through the silent command center. "Today, we have witnessed the birth of a legend." The graduation hall of the Galactic Union Military Academy shimmered under the light of 1,000 stars, visible through the panoramic dome overhead. The air hummed with the low-frequency chatter of a dozen species, their voices blending into a strange, melodic cacophony. Lieutenant Marcus Cole stood at attention, his human frame rigid amidst the sea of alien cadets. His grey Union officer's uniform, tailored to fit a species with only 2 arms and no exoskeleton, felt heavier than it should have. Commander Krell's massive form cast a shadow over the podium. The Vorak's chitinous plates gleamed under the lights, his 4 arms folded in what passed for contemplation among his kind. His voice, deep and resonant, carried across the hall. "Today we honor not just victory, but the lessons learned in its pursuit." A murmur rippled through the crowd. The Zephyrians near the front shifted uncomfortably, their bioluminescent markings flickering in agitation. Vexis, her once smug expression long gone, kept her eyes fixed on the floor. Krell continued. "The Kryth Dominion believed our rigid doctrines made us predictable. They were right." He paused, his compound eyes scanning the assembly, but they did not account for humanity. Marcus felt the weight of every gaze in the room. The Vorak cadets, once dismissive, now studied him with something akin to wary respect. The Zephyrians, who had mocked his squad's primitive weapons, no longer sneered. Even the floating Ceruleans, their telepathic orbs pulsing with curiosity, hovered closer. Krell extended one clawed hand toward Marcus. "Step forward, Lieutenant Cole." Marcus moved with measured precision, his boots clicking against the polished floor. The silence was absolute. "By order of the Galactic Union High Command," Krell intoned. "You are awarded the Star of Valor, the highest military honor this academy bestows." He lifted a crystalline medal, its core glowing with captured starlight. "You are the first of your species to receive it." Marcus swallowed hard. The weight of the moment pressed down on him, not just for himself, but for every human who had ever been dismissed as weak. As inferior, Krell fastened the medal to Marcus' uniform. The Vorak's voice dropped, for Marcus alone. "You have taught us something, human. Predictability is the greatest weakness." Marcus met his gaze. "And adaptability is the greatest strength." A slow, deliberate nod, indeed. The hall erupted in applause. Not the polite, measured clapping of protocol, but a thunderous wave of approval that shook the very walls. The Vorak cadets pounded their chest plates in salute. The Zephyrians flickered their markings in patterns of respect. Even the normally reserved Octavians waved their tentacles in approval. Captain Alara Vance stood at the edge of the crowd, her arms crossed, a smirk playing at her lips. She had seen this coming, had known this would happen the moment the Defiance had broken formation and done the impossible. Marcus turned to face the assembly. The words came easily because they were true. "Humanity doesn't fight by your rules. We never have, but today proves one thing. We fight for the same things: honor, survival, a future worth protecting." Vexis stepped forward. Her bioluminescence dimmed in what Marcus had learned was a gesture of humility. "We were wrong about you," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "All of us." Marcus offered a small smile. "It's okay, we're used to it." The laughter that followed was genuine, a bridge between species that had once seemed uncrossable. Krell raised a hand for silence. "From this day forward, human combat doctrine will be integrated into Union training protocols. Their tactics, their adaptability, will become our strength. He looked at Marcus. You have earned your place among us, Lieutenant, not as an outsider, but as an equal. Marcus nodded. It was all he could do. As the ceremony concluded, the cadets dispersed, their conversations buzzing with excitement. The galaxy had changed today, not just because of a battle won, but because of a lesson learned. And from that day forward, the galaxy learned to fear and respect the name human.